The 1% rule changed my life. Not some overnight miracle, not a lightning strike moment of luck. Just the quiet discipline of being 1% better every single day. When I first heard it, I waved it off as motivational fluff. 1%. That's nothing. That's crumbs. But then I did the math. 1% compounded daily for a year isn't 365% better. It's 37 times better. A tiny fraction stacked daily multiplies into something unrecognizable. And when I finally tested it, my life turned upside down. The first day I tried it, the 1% felt ridiculous. I opened a book, read 2 pages, and closed it. Normally, I'd binge YouTube and call tomorrow a better day to start. But this time, I said, small, sustainable, 1%. The next day, I read 3 pages. The next 5. By the end of the month, I wasn't forcing myself to read anymore. I was devouring chapters simply because the habit had bypassed resistance by starting small. That's the hidden genius of 1%. It slips by your excuses. But here's the trap most people fall into. They think progress has to be dramatic to be real. You stare at the gym mirror and say, nothing's changing. Why bother? You save $5 and laugh at how small it looks. You meditate once and quit because you're still stressed. But that's exactly how the poor mindset keeps you stuck. The rich, not just in money, but rich in life. Think differently, they say. If I'm 1% better than yesterday, I'm on the path to compounding. Because they know what you can't see in the beginning is the avalanche building. In the first 30 days of my 1% experiment, nothing looked different. No abs, no riches, no enlightenment. Just quiet tweaks. Swapping soda for water one night, sleeping 15 minutes earlier, adding 1 push-up after my short workout, writing 1 extra sentence before closing the laptop. Almost boring. But inside, something started rewiring. Pride builds from follow-through. Each time I stacked 1 inch of progress, I built trust with myself. That trust became momentum. By the second month, cracks in my old life started showing. Netflix binges felt duller. Junk food looked less tempting. Why? Because every day I had proven to myself I move forward. Even if microscopic, it's forward. And once that story sticks in your brain, you stop tolerating excuses. By month 3, my 1 push-up had turned into 20. My 1 page each night blossomed into 20 books finished by summer. Small changes sparked exponential identity change. I no longer identified as someone trying. I became someone who does. Around month 4, people started noticing. You look sharper. You seem more focused. But they didn't see the small battles behind it. The times I wanted to snooze alarm clocks, but chose 1% better, just getting up without heroics. The countless moments where my old self would binge scroll, but new self said, 1 little win instead. That's how identity compounds. Small commitments invisibly keep stacking until the outside world can't ignore the difference. Science explains this too. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, popularized the 1% rule with the story of the British cycling team. For years, they were mediocre. Then their new coach focused on marginal gains, 1% improvements in sleep, nutrition, bike, ergonomics, even pillow quality. Those slivers added up until Britain dominated the Olympics with medals in every discipline. Success was hidden in the small, consistent additions that cycle team proved the 1% rule on the world stage. But here's the shadow side. Just as 1% growth compounds, so does 1% decline. Skip the workout just today. Overspend a little each week. Get 1% worse in focus, discipline, attitude, initially invisible. But months later, you're behind millions of invisible steps. The same compounding that builds giants unnoticed is sinking your ship quietly. That realization stabbed me halfway through the year. Every excuse was in T-neutral. It was negative compounding. And here's what's even more crazy. The 1% rule isn't just math, it's psychology. Small wins release dopamine. Each checkmark builds momentum. You start craving the next 1% because your brain loves reward circuits. It becomes less about discipline and more about design. So instead of fighting yourself with willpower, you engineer streaks. Miss again, start again immediately. The chain matters more than perfection. After 9 months practicing the 1% rule, my results looked shocking to outsiders. I had read more books in 1 year than the last 5 combined. I was stronger, leaner, and healthier, not from radical diets, but from stacking micro-choices. My income grew, not from a giant windfall, but from adding small networking touches. Small skill improvements every week that opened bigger opportunities. People kept asking, "How did you change so fast?" And I laughed because it was never fast. It was slow compounding disguised as overnight. But there's an even bigger truth I uncovered nearing day 365, 1% ISNT about habits alone. It's spiritual. It's identity. Each small action whispers something to you. See, you're capable. You can. You will. Each whisper stacks until it drowns out the old story that said you'd never make it. That's why millionaires, athletes, and leaders live by compounding. Their real superpower isn't talent. It's the discipline to let small, daily edges snowball into destiny. Here's the story I'll never forget. A friend joined me on the 1% journey. He started with 2 push-ups each day. Just 2, embarrassingly small. But he kept going, adding 1 more when it felt easy. By the end of a year, he was banging out hundreds in a single session, shredded, confident, in love with his progress. All from what seemed too stupid to matter. That's the trick. Stupid small done daily is the seed of genius results. The 1% rule also taught me compassion. Because not every day will be exponential. Some days, 1% better means just showing up when you want to quit. Not glamorous, not social media worthy. But those days matter most, because they keep the chain alive. And staying consistent when temptation is loud solidifies identity even stronger. So what's the truth? After living the 1% rule for an entire year, my finances improved, my body transformed, my relationships deepened because I became present and disciplined, my creativity exploded. But none of that is the biggest result. The biggest result is trust. I trust myself now to keep promises, and that confidence is the foundation under all results. Because when you believe in your own consistency, nothing feels impossible anymore. Small changes create massive results. That isn't a cliche. It's compounding. It's math. It's biology. It's mindset. 1% better daily can rewrite your life into a version unrecognizable a year from now. Or 1% worse can sink you deeper every year into mediocrity and regret. So tomorrow, start with something laughably easy. 1 push-up, 1 glass of water instead of soda, 1 sentence in a journal, 1 compliment to someone you love. It feels like nothing, but stack it, compound it, let time magnify it. And months from now, people will look at you shocked at this overnight change, never realizing it was just 1% added, again and again, in silence. Because the truth is massive transformation isn't built in explosions, it's built in fractions. And the sooner you believe that, the sooner your future self will thank you. The 1% rule is simple, and that's why it's unstoppable.